Let's go to work.
Go to work. Sit on the
You
toilet.
sit on the toilet, don't you? Use that as your meditation.
Not my wife, not your wife, nor anybody listening to this podcast has eaten a shit sandwich.
Welcome to
We didn't
Recovery
have a hand in
Unfiltered.
nothing.
I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic. We are not professionals. There are no letters after our names. We know very little. However, you will hear the word God and a four-letter word in the same sentence. You will also be offended. So if you are easily offended, just pass us by. This podcast is not for you.
Our opinions are just that. If you don't agree with what we're
Our
saying, that's
opinions
okay.
are
We're
right.
going to love you anyway.
You are
not
exactly.
in any way affiliated with AA.
So sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and get ready.
Let's
Non-alcoholic.
go. Hello, Rob.
What's up, Larry?
Welcome back.
Hey, I think we got the date. Jason Ryan's ready to go.
Oh, up camping?
June 13th. Well, for the houseboat first.
Oh, the houseboat first.
Yeah, and he's ready. He's ready for both of them.
Jason Ryan's always down to do that stuff, though.
So mid-August, we're good.
Jason R. I guess we could say Jason Ryan. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've talked about
And who
him
knows?
on here.
But those of us who know him,
Right.
And if you don't know him, you're fucking missing out because he's a stud.
2,000 other people that listen.
Yeah, that's good.
Hey, we got a little bit to talk about. When people are listening to this, they got to listen to Kim and Mike's final, the finish of theirs.
That'll be tomorrow, right?
But when people are listening to this, it's going to be a week past.
Oh, that's right. They've already heard it. They've already heard it.
No, they've already heard it when they're listening to this,
That's right.
So that was some emotional stuff to listen to record, to everything, man. It was just.
And I think that's the first time I broke.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Well, I've never seen you get that upset. I can promise you that. I have never ever seen you on this podcast. In the 3 years I've known you, I don't think I've ever seen you break like that.
I don't think I have. That was tough.
That was,
a good one. That was
and
a
you
good
did
one.
it twice.
Yeah.
You did it twice. Once reading the prayer and once later on
Come on,
talking
man.
about.
If that don't pull your heartstrings, you're dead.
Yeah. So yeah, we got that. The editing of it, when I went back to edit it and listening to it again, I was 5 o'clock in the morning sitting in my easy chair downstairs and just started crying again listening to it because, there's just so much personal stuff in there. And I was so happy for Kim that she opened up the way she did, because not only was it healing for Mike, oh my gosh, the healing that Kim had in that. And I haven't had a chance thought I was going to get a chance to talk to Mike last night, but he wasn't at the meeting last night. For sure.
They went to the Monday, the other one. Sometimes him and Nathan will go to
okay, gotcha.
Susan's meeting.
And, but see, I wanted to hear how Kim felt after that. And she was listening to it and I hadn't heard back from him. I'm going to assume everything's okay. So anyway, so I want to get a shout out to my doctor, Ashley. She started listening to this. I actually just got back. I started going to a different primary doctor, just try to get healthy again. I switched doctors. I've been seeing the same one for like 25 years. I was having a lot of issues besides all the back surgeries and this and that. Like I said, ever since I've gotten sober, haven't really had a day without pain. I've got a lot of different stuff and I just want to get healthy again. She's done a little bit of blood work and we kind of found some stuff, but she was telling me today that she's been listening to our podcast. She loved it. I asked her, do we cuss too much? She goes, oh God, no, that makes it so fun. So, yeah.
And she's Australian, you said.
She's from Australia. She doesn't have the accent, but she's from Australia. So she's awesome.
That's the sexy part.
Oh, I know, but she's a doctor. Stop it. They work hard to get that. And you just had to fucking swallow right on that fucking mic. Even after I told you I've got it fixed so I can mute your ass, you forgot to hold the can up a little bit. Give me a little bit of a fucking warning before you go right into that.
I didn't forget.
That
was all fucking purpose.
So yeah, so there's a little bit been going on this week, and I'm pretty freaking stoked. Blake got his went through, I said I would never, and I've shared this a little bit a couple times with our listeners, and said I would never sponsor again. And, I told that story about, God hit me over the head to sponsor and this and that. And I got through we went through his 4th step and went through his 5th. And he was up here yesterday. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this last night at the Monday night meeting. And we were walking through his 6th step last night, or, kind of explaining to him what to do next after the 5th step. And as we were talking, he just kept bringing, oh, wait a minute, I forgot about this. And I'm like, okay. And then I kept reading, right? Kept reading. And every time he would say, okay, I'm getting ready to, you know, are you ready to do the 6th step? And he would sit there and think a little bit. And I would read this back. I said, have you skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have you tried to make mortar without sand? If you can answer to our satisfaction, then look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable.
Can't do without it.
Rob, honestly, I've read that probably multiple times, and that sentence right there never popped out to me before.
So what stands out now? Why indispensable?
I don't know. The willingness as being indispensable. The willingness has to be there.
You can't do without it.
You can't.
There's one ingredient you must have.
And what was awesome is I was reading that and I was getting it like struck in the head as Blake was just like going more and more. And every time we'd start, it happened like 3 times. I'd read that. He's like, well, I want to talk about another thing. And he kept coming, you know, he kept bringing more and more stuff up. And then I said, okay, I mean, 6 and 7 is kind of on your own. If you want, you know, you need to go home and, you know, pull this book down from the shelf and talk to him about that. I said, or we can sit right here. And if you're ready, we can get to, you know, this is step 6. If you want to go to 7, we'll say the prayer. Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah, I'm ready to go. I said, okay. So we sat right there and did this.
I always make him do the prayer. Why did you? I have him do the prayer before me, so I know they said it, but I still make him go home and take that hour. You know, returning home on page 75 is to go from returning home to amen. The next page, you know, you do everything in there.
Yeah. And I mean, I sent him off last night and said, you know, we got to do 8 and 9. You know, I just told him to get 8 together and we talk about it. And so, I mean, he seems to be, I think I'm finally going to get through one.
Good.
3rd time's a charm, baby.
Yeah.
3rd time's a charm.
But everything is right.
The
willingness is there.
Everything.
You're ready. It's, you know.
I was on top of a cloud last night when I got to the meeting. Me and Doug sat there. And we kind of had our own meeting before the meeting because I was talking to him about it, you know, because I was so excited to talk to somebody about it. And it was before the meeting, there's just chaos going in there and everybody's talking and everybody blah, blah, blah. So,
but that's the best part. You know, when you know, like I started with Derek.
Yep.
4-step, you know, break it down. And that's what he's working on. Lauren's done that.
Right. And it was good to see him last night.
He's coming back with the 8th. It was his 8-step list. And that's then that's when the sponsor lets you go out into the world and actually talk to people, you know, making sure that, you know, don't go fucking make it worse.
Right. So yeah, that's where we're at. And like I said, we're pretty excited. I got 2 other people now. I mean, we finished up Kim and Mike. I've kind of been holding off on some other, a couple other people that are going to come in and do and tell their story. One girl is out of Dustin, Texas. We're going to do her by Zoom.
That's going to be exciting.
That one's going to be a fun one. Little bit different than what you and we're alcohol. She's drugs, right?
Ooh, what kind of drugs?
Fentanyl. Yeah.
Sponsored by.
She had some.
That's dangerous. Man.
She's got a little over 4 years sobriety.
Okay.
And you know, one of the things.
How old a gal is she?
I'm sorry?
How old a gal is she?
She's probably mid-30s.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And I'm excited because what got me excited, because I read a lot of those, you know, I follow a lot of other sober people out there, stuff on Instagram and Facebook and this and that. And I do a lot of reading. Things? I know you don't, but I do. That's my job. That's what keeps us in the podcast, you know, and that's, I reached out to people to come on and do interviews, and I reached out to her because she said something in her podcast or in one of her posts. Somebody was giving her a hard time on there about, you know, all of her posts about her sobriety and stuff. And she basically fired back, says, I'm sober out loud and I don't care. And I was like, I wrote back, I said, atta girl right there. That fucking A right. And she said it just like we would say it, right? Sober out loud. So, you know, people living in silence don't die, right? And I just wrote her back. I said, atta girl, way to fight. Fight. And
that shit's killing people.
Right. And I says, hey, listen to our podcast. I'd love to have you on. And she responded back, I'd love to. So she's listening, do some listening, and we're going to get it so we can talk a little bit. And so she's going to come on. And then I think we're going to have Christy on.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So we got some pretty good ones coming up. But anyways. You said you were going to bring a topic into me.
Did I?
You did.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you the same question. Because I do all the fucking talking around here. So
are you fucking kidding me right now?
I'm going to give you a chance.
I carry this fucking thing for 45 minutes out of 60.
Yeah,
motherfucker.
No choice. Yo, shut up. There's no fucking off button on you.
I got the mute buttons fixed over here now. I can mute the fuck out of it.
Well, just what I told you. Here's the topic. Here's a question for you to answer. I'm working with a man.
Okay.
I told you about him. Mm-hmm. And he's upset because this pastor that he goes to has been pastor for 40 years. He's leaving. He's retiring, going out of state. He's bummed. They're bringing in some young guys, and they're testing out pastors. Uh-huh. And he goes, man, it just breaks my heart because I want to get closer to the Lord. And now he's leaving, and there's just not that shared life experience with a younger guy that hasn't been through anything. Right. I said, well, if you get to sit down with the old man, what would you ask him? I mean, what is it that you want? Right. He goes, how do I get closer to the Lord? So Larry, so my first response was this: if he tells you anything other than get into action, just walk away. He knows what the fuck you're talking about. So Larry, how do you get closer to the Lord?
Well, I'm gonna go back on
how do you get closer to your higher power?
Right. Two things on that. You know, I was very, very involved in the church. I know. Years ago. Right. Years ago, I was teaching men's Bible study. I was extremely involved. But the other side of that, I was extremely involved with the pastor. We were very close, tight friends. He was with a lot of people. I looked to him more as a friend than I did as a pastor, right? Mm-hmm. And we got extremely close, and we did a lot of golfing together. We did a lot of fishing together. We did a lot of stuff together. When he decided that he was going to leave and retire, because I was putting my faith in him and not putting my faith in God in my own personal walk, it pissed me off. And I walked away from the church for a very long time. I still haven't really got back into a church because I had put him up on the pedestal and I had put him in that position where God was supposed to be, right? And I know that now, and I got to know that, and I had a very personal relationship with God, except I was doing it through him, right? When I came into recovery and I started getting into the AA book and started getting into action of my own recovery, I came to realize that I had to get into action with my own relationship with my higher power. That was a necessity. I wasn't going to get it from anybody else. I wasn't going to get it from osmosis. I wasn't going to get it. You weren't
going to get it from being on your knees for 6 hours praying. You got to get into action.
I had, and I tell people this, anytime. I don't stand out in the middle of the room on a soapbox and beat a drum and preach out loud. That's not the way I am. You're going to hear me preaching more about sobriety than you will about God, right? But you break me down and put me, sorry about that. You break me down and put me in, behind here, and I'm going to tell you all the glory goes to my God. All the glory goes to my God.
But what did we have to do?
I had to turn myself over.
To affect this relationship. It's a relationship.
It is 1,000% a relationship.
You got to put time into it. You got to put action behind it. First, you need to clean your side of the street, whatever that means. And that's alcoholic or otherwise.
Right. I couldn't get close without that, right? Because there's
you got to get on. You don't got to get good to get God. You got to get honest with yourself first.
Think about it this way. If you have, whether your wife or your parents, if you were hiding from your parents, your relationship was not well. If you're hiding from your wife, you're hiding from your husband, you're hiding from your employer, if you're hiding from anybody because of something that you don't want to confront with that's in your own side, that relationship is broken. Right? And until we it's strained. And until we clean out what's between me and whatever that is, me and my wife, me and my employer, me and my God, I had to clear all that stuff out so I can get that closer relationship with him.
And we believe in God, so positionally we might be okay, but relationally we're not. And that's what needs to change if you want to get closer. When we were talking in the meeting, when you were in Texas, I brought it up to Derek. We were talking because with every time we would, I'm sorry, we would fuck up,
right?
And we meant it, man. I'm going to stop. We would tell ourselves, I'm going to stop drinking. Right, when we meant it with every fiber of our being,
every ounce of our body.
And I said, but then that's also why we were on our knees crying out to God, please take this bottle out of my hand, and He never did.
Nope.
Why?
Would never, because
That's all we did. Get on our knees. We wouldn't get on our feet and walk and do anything for ourselves.
We were asking, we weren't doing.
Right. And how easy is it when you're broken like that to humble yourself before God? Right. It's easy. Now God's asking you, go humble yourself before that man. Mm-hmm. Go out there to the world and say, and hit your knees and say, I'm broken. I need help.
Right.
That's much harder to do. Yep. And until you do that, and then you get up on you, take your bed and walk.
Right.
Then that relationship becomes, it starts to work.
1,000, correct. And like I said, I still go back to, I had to clear out, and you said it yourself, that you had to clear out that wreckage of self, right? We had to clear our side of the street up.
And that's anybody, whether you're an alcoholic or not, you've got the baggage. You've got baggage.
Oh, for sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, once I was able to clear that out of the way, and I could see and I could feel the presence of God inside of me, and I can feel the presence of God in the decisions I was making, and I can feel that.
Now the prayer time. Now that silent time we have with our Father, it's unlike anything I can imagine. I didn't know this was possible, but I had to do the work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah, and that's one of the, like I said, I keep going back to this. It's one of those.
So I got up on my soapbox. I did after he asked me that, and then I went on to speak, bringing out both books and how they coincide. James, the whole book of James, all that, right? Yeah. Action. Show me your works, or show me your faith without any action. I'll show you my faith by what I do.
Right.
You have no, that if someone watched, if they were deaf and couldn't hear our words, and they watched you and I live, where we ate, who we talked, if they just watched our actions, they would know who we believe in.
Oh, for sure.
They would know they would know, because our actions don't lie.
Nope.
My words will lie all the time.
Right.
But I'll tell you, if I love broccoli, Larry, it's the greatest vegetable there is on the planet. You watch me for the next 3 weeks, you won't see me eat that shit at all. I don't think that guy loves broccoli at all. He hadn't eat that shit one time.
He's never proven it to me.
But my actions will never lie.
No, that's a true fact.
Watch him.
True fact. I know that I went down to had a meeting this morning down in Fresno, and the guy that I was meeting with, he knows that I'm in recovery, and so is he, right? So we've had that conversation multiple times, over the time. When he calls his his plant manager in that runs the operations, and he sits down across from me and goes, "Hey, Larry, he's in the same boat you and I are. We go to the same meetings." And I'm going to go, that's a hell of a way to bring up that subject. So we sat there and had an AA meeting right in the office.
He's a friend of Bill W's.
That just didn't even expect that phone call, that conversation to come up. So we basically had an AA meeting sitting right there.
That's a God thing.
It happened. It happened so fast, but it's enjoyable.
So, and let me ask you a question. When your sponsee comes back with his 8-step list done, people he's hurt, what he did to hurt them, and he's prayed for the willingness, because it's a 2-part step.
Yep.
How are you going to break it down? I mean, you're going to have him, to make sure that we don't go out into the world. Because I told my guy, Derek, that because he's not there yet.
Right.
But how do you prepare them to go out into the world? What do we tell them about making amends? Right. What is an amends? One. Right. What are you ready for that one?
No, I'm not. I mean, like I said, I draw back on my own experience on that thing. And I know when I made my list, one of the things you told me was, don't ever say we're sorry. Right.
And at all costs, try not to say that word.
So that's one of the things I had talked to him about last night is, when we put this together, this is not a sorry list. This is a amends list, right? He's got some stuff. He had a lot of stuff. And he had some stuff on one of his lists that he was worried about making the amends to, right? And I'm like, well, let's talk about that. One of them I don't think you should do, right? Because it tells us, unless other hurt or, that we could hurt somebody. We do amends unless it'll hurt somebody or cause pain. So one of them I said, no, you're not going to do that one for sure, right? I mean, that's one you're going to have to work on yourself. You're going to have to work on yourself and just let that one go. Well,
and there are some that the book talks about, because we don't get the monkey off our back by destroying someone else.
Right. For sure.
And there's some stuff that you might have to, God's just going to have to give you the strength to walk with.
Right.
You did it.
Right.
You fucking walk with it.
Right.
You don't, the book is
I still have one. I've talked about it a couple times. I still have one, and I run into the person all the time, but I've never had a chance to actually sit down and talk to them about, how I was and, where I was. And
they probably never want to do that. So
she doesn't want it.
Yeah. So
she doesn't want it, but the relationship is broken.
Right.
What I had before.
Correct.
It's completely broken.
And sometimes
I'll never get it back.
And sometimes
but that's all on me.
Correct.
That's me, 1000% me. I miss that mentor. I miss her to death. She was one of my, if I needed anything in my business, in my industry, we would sit and talk for hours about, different stuff. And I miss that. Right. But,
and that's a reality. There's some of us that will hear, hey,
right,
you go try to make amends, and they'd say, I hope you eat shit and die. Get out of my face. And you won't hear that, but you've done your part.
Right.
To clean up your side of the street. They're not all roses and unicorns and orgasms. They're not.
But what was your original question to me?
Oh, about
how's
the nice
that? I don't. So explain that a little bit more to me, because that may help me out a little bit.
I don't know. Well, there's sometimes like the general. I don't know if I should say his name. I'm not going to say his name. Right. When you got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did everybody else, but
when he because it was going to be touch and go his amends to his ex-wife. It needed to happen.
Right.
But I made him go write it out, and then you're going to read it to me.
Right.
And we're going to go over, because there's something, because we don't want to make it worse.
I got you.
And so we really had to go through that.
But aren't you afraid that they're going to curtail what their true feelings are?
No.
Okay.
No. All you're doing is you're owning your shit.
Okay.
XYZ, please forgive me. XYZ behavior was wrong. Mm-hmm. And you lay it out. Then you stand there and take whatever they have to give. But then we had to make some corrections. We had to do some, and then when he went and did it, relationship, it was good. Okay. But I said, you stand there, you read the letter.
Right.
And then you fold the letter, and then you listen. And she hit him with
all kinds.
Yeah. And he took it, but after that, she felt better. He felt better. And then they were co-parenting well. Right. Because he made amends to the best of his ability and didn't make it worse. But sometimes you'll have to do that because on those touchy ones. But there's some of them that have to be done, and you really got to trust God and take
I've
extra
never
steps.
made it this far.
I know. So, because I've also had guys go out and just not take the advice and think, because what do they think? When they first come into the rooms, what's the first thing to grow back on a drunk? His opinion.
Right. That's a true fact.
I think, you know what I think? Right. Shut up.
We don't care.
We don't care what you think. Try not to think. Just listen. And they've made it terrible. They made terrible mistakes.
Right.
Just like kind of the one you're talking about, irreparable damage, because they're going to do it their way. All right.
But I had to let that one go. That one bothered me for a long time. Long time.
See, that for me, that's the scariest step was to go out, to these people.
Oh, it wasn't for me. I'm going to tell you right now, my ninth step.
The fourth step was easy. Let's just write, and I got to go,
Dude, I couldn't get out and see those people quickly. Right. Because, and I've said this multiple times, from the moment I saw that crack in that darkness,
there's that window of willingness that closes if you don't do it.
No, I
fast.
The minute I finished my fifth step and sixth, seventh, and wrote that eighth, I want to say I was probably from my seventh to the end of my ninth was probably less than 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
except for the guy at Cindy's restaurant when you got to see.
You know what? That
was a good one.
That was a great one,
and that's a God one.
That was 1,000% a God one, and that one hit me from out of the blues because I didn't know how I was going to handle that one. Right. But just like Blake and I talked last night, that these things are going to pop up as we go along, right? And if you, he was concerned. His biggest thing when we were going through his 4th step is he felt like he should have more stuff on there.
There's always that number that they,
right.
Hey, I didn't have a lot of my resentments because I didn't trust you fuckers,
right?
So I didn't let people get close. If you haven't been molested, there's only a certain demographic of people that would get close to me. Sex inventory, even though I was very promiscuous, really wasn't that bad because it was all,
consensual.
Everybody was, it was all good.
All consensual.
All consensual. But my fear inventory was terrific.
Talk to me about that a little bit. I had a little bit of hard time going over that with him yesterday.
Well, because when people think of fear, what do they think of? Well, I'm not going to be in the ocean with sharks. That's terror. That's different.
Right.
You know, afraid of what people think of us.
Right.
We wear masks all the time.
That's what we talked about. Right. We talked about that a little bit.
Rejection, abandonment. Everybody's
his whole
got that.
His whole thing was everything on his fear list was everything in the future. He wasn't everything was
tripping.
in the future.
Oh, dude, mind fucking ourselves.
So everything was on there.
Sorry, Dr. Ashley, that's another F word.
She's fine. Everything on that list was future stuff, and I finally had to look at him. I go, well, let's talk about the real fear there. What's the real fear?
Yeah. The unknown.
And I go, what'll
control?
If
like you.
Every bit of that came true right now, what do you think would happen to you? I mean, he literally stopped for a long time and finally goes, I'd probably go back to using. I go, there's your fear.
Yeah.
There's your fear.
Relapse.
Yeah, there's your fear.
That relapse.
Yeah.
And if you have that hang up right there, you have that hanging over you.
Right.
Because if you'll drink over one thing or use over one thing, you'll use over anything.
So your fear of losing, your fear of losing this, your fear of losing that, your fear of losing that, it's none of that. That was his fear was. His real fear was his relapse.
Right.
And I'm like, now that you know what it is, right, we just keep working on that.
Let's get some faith wrapped around that relapse fear and it'll go away.
And we talked about that. But you got to remember the other thing, he's not a firm believer yet.
No, I know. That's a beautiful thing, though. But that's when they're reaching, they're trying to reach out to God in spirit and in truth.
What was so funny, two things happened yesterday when he came in. I'm sorry, this turned out to be all about Blake, but I had such a fantastic
As long as he don't mind, which, we're not giving
No, he does. He knows. We've talked about him before, but he
doesn't have a chicken story. That's good.
No, he didn't. His chicken's still alive. We were working out of the plain language book.
Fuck that.
But I was going in between the plain language and this book because I was highlighted in my big book. So I was trying to go over to the plain language book to try and get it back and forth while I kept reading out of this. Yesterday when he showed up, he had his big book and didn't have the plain language book. He goes, "You keep going back and forth, and quite honestly, I'm enjoying the original big book better." And I'm like, well, okay, so I threw the plain language to the side and we did everything. We did 5, 6, and 7 working out of the original big book.
Imagine that. That's right.
That was funny.
That's right. All you motherfuckers.
You know what? But I am going to tell this.
But I'm proud of you for
I'm going to continue to study it. I'm going to continue to study it because I'm releasing my prejudice on that.
And I'm proud of you for that.
But I don't have 15 years of digging into this like you do. I mean, although I was pretty proud of myself yesterday when I was able to turn right the pages when I knew what I was looking for, right? We had to get down to causes and conditions. 64. I went right to 64. I didn't even hesitate. I knew exactly where it was at, right? And I was pretty happy had the ability to do that. But I want to learn that plain language because if somebody wants to communicate to me in that plain language, I don't want to be, and I say this to people all the time. I don't give a shit how you get sober. Get sober.
Yeah.
And if it's the plain language that's going to help you get sober,
I'll do
fuck
it.
it. I'll take it with the plain language.
I will too. I mean, because
I know you would.
It's that important.
But the pages don't line up. That's the difficult part, right? The pages don't line up. When you're trying to find it and you're going back and forth between the two.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, come on, on some of that, because I've read, don't get me wrong, I've already read it. Most of it, 90% of it.
Right. You haven't studied it. You've read it.
Some of it's all right, but there's a lot of stuff where it just seems weak to me. They water it kind of down.
But that's the point of it, though, Rob. They take out some of the strong wording, right?
Right, which...
Incomprehensible, demoralization. They change those verbiage a little bit. There's some verbiage.
To try to make it more understandable.
1,000%.
They've lightened it a little bit, in my opinion. To get the attention of an alcoholic, it takes depth and weight.
Right. And so one of the things I told Blake yesterday is if you're going to stay with this big book and continue studying the way you do, get you a dictionary.
Yeah.
That was some of the best advice that I'd gotten anywhere and that anybody gave me. And I want to say Chris gave me that at Maynard's. He said, you're going to want to get you a dictionary. Right. And ever since then I got the dictionary. I mean, if I go against a word or go across a word that I ain't familiar with, I'll go look it up. And I mean, you'll see all throughout my big book, the big word scratched out and what's the true meaning above it or the true word.
The up to date. Where the goose hung high. Everything was good.
Yeah, everything was good. I mean, like I said, I didn't want to turn away from that plain language only for that reason, is that Blake was understanding it. But what was, like I said, what was fun is after we got into it far enough, and he saw that I kept, and when he kept seeing the verbiage in some of the stuff and how stiff and strong it was, he recognized that, well, shit, I should probably go out of this big book. So anyways, it was fun.
I enjoy that.
It was fun, Mr. Rob. All right, brother, we're going to get on out of here. I told you this was going to be a short one. I am going to tell you this. I am going to say this. I've said it once before. I couldn't have asked for a better partner to do this podcast with, because you literally, I say we have to record and you just show up. Yeah. I've said that multiple times, and I've said it multiple times, and you just keep.
Bobby Thomas's rules, the 4 rules of my dad. I'm finally, rule number 3 is the only one I ever really kept, when I was back. So, man is only as good as his word. Mm-hmm. Man's word is no good. The man is no good. That's what my father said. Right. It goes for a woman too. So I told you we'd do this. Mm-hmm. So you need me. I'm here. We don't get breaks in this though. No, but we do. But the reason why we recorded now is so we don't have to record for another week. Right. So we don't have to record this weekend. When can we get that Texas gal on? I'm working with it right now. Right. I'm hopefully. Have you talked to her at all? Not on the phone yet. Okay. Not on the phone yet. I mean, I'm curious to see how that Texas drawl. I can hear her voice. She's got a big one. Yeah, cool. She's got a big one. So I'm kind of excited to get her on. You know who else we need to get back is Rachel, Dr. Rachel. She graduated. Oh, did she? Yeah. Well, remember she was in. Yeah, she was May. Right there. She's get her doctorate. She was right there. Yeah. So I'll reach out to her and see if we can get her back on, actually in studio this time. So now that she's a doctor. So what do we got next? What are you thinking? I'm thinking Christy. Yeah, thinking Christy. Yeah, I really like to get her on here. I like to get that story. She recorded with Jenny, which is the Sober Sister Shit Show. That's what it's called? Yeah. Jenny's. Yeah, she's doing pretty good. Good. And so they recorded in my studio, or in our studio a few times, and now she's got her own little studio going. But Christy was one of her first ones that she had on, and I really enjoyed her, so I want to get her on here. When are we going to have our wives on? Buddy, you better hit my wife up for that Bonnie's one. Ready. Bonnie's been ready. She'll do it anytime. I know. You got to get with Katie on that one. Wait, because she's not going to. The only time she listened to these podcasts is when she was with Tammy for 6 weeks. So she's not going to listen to this one, what I'm about to say, because when she gets here, I'm going to bring up cancer. And we're gonna have a little something. We're going to get pull some of this shit out of her. Okay, then let's just bring her all alone. No, hell no. Okay, she'll come with Katie. I'll be back on I'll get back on Katie. I think we got to have the daughters on one at a time. Yeah, well, we got to have your kids don't remember enough of it. No, your daughters. I know. They'll come on anytime, but they won't come on together. No, that's perfect. Yeah, they won't come on together. If they came on together, then we'd have a cat fight probably right here in the middle of the studio. Hey, but my son, when he was 8. Gave me I forget what year I was sober, but he gave me my chip. And then my daughter, when she was 10, I had her get up in front of primary and talk about her dad and give me my chip. That's pretty cool. That was awesome, dude. Wait till you get to walk her down the aisle. Yeah, that's awesome too. I do that again. And I just counted that. When is that? September? 4 months. 4 months? September? Yeah. Yeah. Right? May, June, July, August. Yeah. 4 months. That's awesome. Sure. Can't wait for you to do it. All right, Mr. Rob, recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. That's recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to us, please do that, right? I mean, we've got people reaching out. We've got the guy in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He's getting help. Yep. Oh, good. He's getting help. Good. And Mike, he's doing very good. I need to reach out to him today, but he's doing really good. So, and if you are not an alcoholic and you're just listening to this and you want to get closer to God, like my buddy did, get into action. Right. Because the Bible says, okay, even if that's not your God, it doesn't matter. Right? Right. 1,000%. Oh, well, I just lost it. I just lost it. Well, because you're old. I know. It sucks. God. I need some ginkgo biloba. You need something. You need to go up there and work out with my buddy at the den in Ripon. Yeah, I'll go to the den. You need to go do that. I'll go do that. All right. Later.
Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week, and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in. Take care.
This has been Recovery Unfiltered.